I remember when I came to school in grade 2, there was a girl, Andrea Gittins, her dad was from Trinidad.
Okay.
But she was very light-skinned, and I still felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. Yeah, I don't remember how I knew. I just knew it was really bad and it hurt. It probably did. I maybe became a bit more tough. I didn't have any preconceived notions of what a chiropractor would do. I didn't know she was going to crack my bones or anything like that. The piece that my mom shared with me was more around general health and my allergies, and my allergies were so bad. I wanted some help. I was taking a lot of medication and that wasn't really helping. So when she said she thought that she could help me, I just went, and she did help me. She had a technique that I haven't encountered since. And you are meant to be here. You're in the place you're supposed to be. I never had another doubt after that God led me to that place, and that's where I was supposed to be, and that's what I was supposed to do.
Whenever like a situation would come up where I wasn't like that, then I would always get perceived, if I wasn't always happy and I wasn't always smiling, or if something bothered me and I brought it up, then it becomes that I'm an angry black man, I'm confrontational, and I'm trying to cause problems. In the next week, I was fired.
If I speak about something seriously, I'm taken as angry, or the person gets more worked up or feels more attacked. I'm more intimidating.
People don't need to. Anyone that is able to get a rise out of you essentially has control over you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the black community that the chiropractor is like a maybe not a taboo, but it's like a thing that we're a little bit scared to go to, you know?
The schooling is expensive, but
Have you ever been stereotyped? Had your abilities doubted because of the color of your skin? Judged based on how you look before you even speak? If you have, this series is for you. Welcome to More Than an Athlete, More Than Entertainer. So we are back with another episode of our More Than an Athlete, More Than Entertainer, Debunking the Stereotype series. And we are here with another special guest who we just realized also loves beats like me. You know, Bobby T is missing out a little bit, but it's okay. But without further ado, let's dive right into our episode. So, Dr. Ross, tell us who you are and what you do.
my name is Dr. Carol Ross, and I'm a chiropractor.
Okay. Now, so you are a chiropractor, which is, I think, is a unique industry and a unique career path, especially for people of color like us. I don't see, for myself, I haven't seen many Black chiropractors, so I think that is very cool. So, tell me a little bit about your upbringing, where you grew up, and what it was like.
Well, I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba,
Okay.
and we were living there because my dad was doing his master's at the University of Manitoba.
Okay.
And then we moved to Regina, Saskatchewan for him to complete his PhD. And then we moved to Edmonton for him to work. And that's where I started school, was in Edmonton.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you would have remembered this because you might have been really young, but is it true that Manitoba has some of the coldest winters, like maybe colder than Edmonton?
It has the coldest, driest temperatures in North America. It's the northernmost city, coldest city.
Really?
There's
Did-
towns that are colder, but it's the coldest city.
Okay. So
It was cold.
That's a good. I know I'm not supposed to go there. Then only in summer. Only in the summer. Okay. So you were in Manitoba, then you guys moved to Edmonton and you started school.
Yep.
So where did you go to school and what was it like?
I started in grade 2 at a French immersion school. My parents put me into French immersion. More opportunity. And I loved my school. I loved my teachers. I was able to walk to school from home. I made some good friends back then. And because the French immersion community was small at the time in Edmonton, I was with mostly the same students all the way through from grade 2 into university.
Okay, so that's nice. So you had a lot of good chemistry with your classmates and stuff like that going up. Okay. And so in that experience, were you the only black child in your class? Was there
In my
many?
first school, as far as I can remember, I was the only black child until another sibling came. I do remember when I came to school in grade 2, there was a girl, Andrea Gittins, from her dad was from Trinidad.
Okay.
But she was very light-skinned, and I still felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. And I think she had a younger cousin also later in school who was in school with my sister.
Okay.
But as dark as me, I think it was just me.
Just you. Okay. And did that cause any problems or issues for you? Like, for example, for me, I can't really say that I would have had to experience that because I grew up in the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, it's predominantly black, right? Black kids in school. But I have heard a lot of stories of people. Um, I know for me now, I face it more so in my work environment because in most of the jobs that I do, I'm usually the only black person at my job, and I encounter not very blatantly or not kind of right in my face, but sometimes um, just the way things are done, I can see that there's a little bit of maybe racism or just little um, elements of uh, my color that comes into play. Was there ever a situation when you were going through school where that might have happened to
In my first year at that school, there was a boy who I think the bell rang and we were to line up to go back into the school, and he called me the N word. And I was mortified, devastated. I just wanted to shrink into one of my classmates, a girl, spoke up and said, "That's a bad word and you shouldn't talk like that." And um, other than that time, I don't really remember. I think maybe one more time in grade 6, one of my classmates used that word. I was very afraid that someone might say that. I wanted to be like everybody else. I just wanted to blend in and didn't want to stick out too much. So that kind of thing was pretty devastating.
how did, like, in that moment, like in I guess in real time, like how did you, I guess, like, did you hear about that word previously? Like how did
I
you
don't remember hearing it
firstly,
previously.
you
I
just knew
knew what it
yeah,
meant when he
yeah.
said it to me. Um, yeah, I don't remember how I knew. I just knew it was really bad and it hurt.
And so I guess just to kind of dig a little bit deeper, how did you kind of navigate that moving forward? Because thankfully, I'm really thankful that that girl was able to step in and say that, right? And I think that might have, uh, yes, it's a negative experience, but it's also a little bit of a positive experience that someone
Spoke
who
up.
spoke up, right, in that situation, because not every time someone speaks up. So did that shape you? I know you were young at that time, but did that shape you in any way? Did that?
I think it probably did. I maybe became a bit more tough, a little bit more. I thought of myself as kind of a bully, really, that I wasn't going to let someone else hurt me. So I made sure I teased other people. I was a bit intimidating, so they might not hurt me.
Me. Sure. I think that's interesting. I think that's an interesting thing. And you would say you noticed that kind of from that moment that that was a little bit more of a shift for you?
I remember maybe in grade 3 was the first time I, in my mind, called myself a bully. I don't remember it right then, but it definitely scared me when it happened, and I didn't want it to happen again. I think the second time it happened, it was a bully. They were both bullies, the two guys that used those words, but the second time nobody spoke up, but nobody respected the boy that called me that, and there was a little bit of comfort that other people didn't think the same way that these two guys did. So
And so like in a situation like that too, did you um like, so for example, like if that happened to, I guess, my daughter or my son situation, that would be I don't know if they would tell me. They might not tell me. They might just keep it to themselves.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely didn't tell my parents.
yeah, because
I
the
didn't want them to make a
scene. Yeah.
scene. I didn't really want them to defend me. I just wanted it to go away and
Mm,
forget that it happened as quickly as possible.
awesome. Okay.
Now I would tell them, and I'm sure they would comfort me.
I think that's always something that I think about as a future parent. I'm not a parent right now, but as a future parent, that's something that I always kind of think about. That crosses my mind. How would I deal with that situation? You know, because sometimes maybe if I were to take my kid away from that situation, then I'm not in life. That's a situation that might happen again, or that they might encounter in their life. And if I just take them away from it right away, then maybe they don't know how to learn how to navigate it properly by themselves as well too. So I
Hmm.
don't know, but that's an interesting thing. So moving forward, um, you were in grade 2. You moved up to school with a lot of your classmates.
Hmm.
Were you involved in sports? What was it like? How did you get to where you are right now?
My parents always thought we should be in a sport at all times. We could pick the sport, and then we also had to take music. So I think I started playing soccer and then baseball, and in junior high, I played volleyball and then soccer again. And next month, I think, my women's soccer team, it's my 25th year with my team, and they wanted us always to be physically active. I think having us be strong and fit was probably one of the ways they felt they could help us to protect ourselves.
I love that. I love that. So I guess so. Was it so being in a sport was a I think was that a mandatory thing in the house? Okay, that was a mandatory thing in the house.
Yeah,
Okay. And do you feel like that's something that you would do for your kids going forward too as well? Do you see
I
benefit in
did.
that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. And so now school wise, did you always know that you wanted to become a chiropractor? Like for example, for myself, prior to what I'm doing right now, where I want to have my own business and I want to be in media and entertainment, as well as having my own business and a holistic approach is helping people get 1% better every day. Prior to this, all I cared about was being a professional athlete. That's my whole mindset from since I was a kid. I remember I used to, one of my favorite movies was Space Jam. And I used to dress up in all my basketball clothes. I had my headband, and I would go by the we had a dining room table, and there's a scene inside of Space Jam where Michael Jordan is stretching to dunk the basket, and my mom might be a little bit mad, but I stretched over the center table, and I fell and I actually broke the table.
oh my
So,
goodness.
but that was my whole inspiration. I loved basketball. Was that the same thing for you?
I loved sports. I loved the Olympics. I remember the 1984 LA Olympics. I wanted to be a
Okay.
gymnast. Um, the Calgary Olympics, I remember I wanted to be a biathlete. I wanted to shoot. I wanted to
Okay.
cross country ski. I used to dream about going to the Olympics for different things. I didn't really have an athlete's mindset as far as training and working hard. Things that came easy to me, I kind of gravitated more towards those things. But I still dreamed that, yeah, I was going to do something sporty.
So from gymnast to chiropractor, what happened? What made the change?
Um, I think in junior high, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but it wasn't exclusive. I could be a gymnast and a doctor. Somehow the two coexisted. Um, and then after gymnast, it was volleyball. I wanted to play on the Canadian volleyball team and be a doctor. But in grade 8, my mom, she was a dental hygienist, and she had these study groups, and Dr. Carolee Bates and Koch, a chiropractor, came to speak at her study group and explained the link between allergies and how it could manifest in different ways other than just sneezing or puffy eyes. And it could be joint pain, digestive troubles. And at that time, I had a lot of my knee hurt or I had headaches. And so my mom thought, oh, I should bring you to the chiropractor and see if she could help you. And no one in our family had ever been to the chiropractor before that. And that experience blew my mind. And I remember laying on the table looking up at Dr. Carolee, and she was talking, and I don't know what she was saying, but all of a sudden I heard choirs of angels, and I'm like, I just want to be just like you when I grow up. And I went to the same school that she went to school at, and I practiced in a style that she did. She really inspired me. It helped me to stay the course with school, and I wavered a little bit here and there. Oh, maybe I want to be a lawyer for a brief time, but um, knowing how good she made me feel was something that I wanted to do for other people. And she seemed so wise and so helpful. So
That was a very, very impactful
yeah.
experience on you then. Having her. So when was there any like fear? Because to be honest, so you're actually the first chiropractor that I ever went to,
Mm.
right? So there's a little bit of history there. Um, I was very afraid because um, in my I don't even know, like maybe we have chiropractors back home, but I don't know. I gotta fact check that maybe, but not that I've really heard of. And I always have the I always had the fear of maybe the chiropractor is gonna crack me the wrong way, that I'm gonna be stuck in a certain way and I can't move properly. So I was always a little bit fearful. But then after talking to Jimmy, who was one of your clients who I work with, so shout out to Jimmy. Um, he told me I should go to Dr. Carol Ross. And I said, okay, I'm gonna check her out. And then I came to you, right? So that was my first
Thank you,
experience.
Jimmy.
Exactly. So I had so my first experience was with you, and it was a great experience. And so I think that's very cool that you were able to have that experience, and it was so impactful to you that someone was able to inspire you. And that's essentially the same thing that I want to do with this series here is these stories of that you are sharing. Yes, you would have had to maybe go through some stereotypes and you have to encounter some ups and downs, which is in general for everybody in life.
Hmm.
But hopefully your story and the Black youth that are going to see this and other youth in general that see this that might want to get into the field of chiropractic, then you can inspire them and they might have the same experience that you had from your chiropractor.
I didn't have any preconceived notions of what a chiropractor would do. I didn't know she was going to crack my bones or anything like that. The piece that my mom shared with me was more around general health and my allergies. And my allergies were so bad. I wanted some help. I was taking a lot of medication and that wasn't really helping. So when she said she thought that she could help me, I just went and she did help me. She had a technique that I haven't encountered since where she would use samples of the things that I was allergic to, like some of my dog's hair and white sugar and different pollen samples, and do adjustments on my spine while I held the sample. And it was some kind of a desensitization technique, and it got me off all of my medications. She also recommended cutting out white flour, white sugar, processed foods. But it was the combination that made the difference. And that inspired me to want to be like her. But really, it was the first week that I was in school in California, in San Jose, California, where we had to present a paper saying why we were there. And I told that story of being on the table with Dr. Carolee and knowing this is what I wanted to do. And the professor of that class reading that and then asking me to come to the front of the room. And she burst into tears and came down the aisle as I was walking up. And she said, Dr. Carolee is my sister,
Oh,
and you are meant to be here. You're in the place you're supposed to be. And she was crying, and I was crying. And I never had another doubt after that, that
wow.
I was, God led me to that place, and that's where I was supposed to be, and that's what I was supposed to do. And so it was really easy to, when things were tough, to know, no, you're doing the right thing. This is hard, but this is where you're supposed to be.
See, I love that because I think, especially, I think you have a lot of success when you know what you want at an early age, or when you have very concrete in what you want to do. Um, I felt like that as well when I was younger with my sports, until I had my injury, which kind of derailed um, that thought process. Then I had a little bit of a identity crisis, which I'm building back through right now with what I'm doing here.
Hmm.
I really enjoy doing this, but I guess speaking on that, so that's really cool that she was actually her sister. Did you know that? Like, did you
No,
know
and they didn't have the same names.
name?
And this is
That-
California versus Edmonton. And
That's a
I just
crazy.
knew that it was the school that my doctor had gone
Okay.
to. So that's where I wanted to go.
That is, that's a really crazy experience. That's very unique. I like that actually. That's very cool.
Dr. Peggy Sherman.
Okay, shout out. That is very, very cool. So, has there ever been a period? Because you said you didn't doubt yourself after that, right? Because you kind of knew, okay,
Yeah.
this is for sure what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You might have maybe doubted yourself before, like, oh, maybe I'm not sure. Maybe this time, so maybe I want to be a lawyer. I want to do something else.
Yeah.
But having that experience just kind of reinforced, okay, this is what I want to do. But along your journey, was there ever a point where you were maybe doubted, or your abilities were doubted because of your identity, or were you ever perceived a certain way because of maybe how you look, or maybe, oh, she's for sure an athlete because she's tall and black and this, or were you ever doubted because of how you look, oh, because she's black, whatever? Was because of your identity, was your abilities ever doubted, or were you perceived in a certain way?
I would imagine so. There is a majority chiropractors are male. Majority chiropractic business owners are male. Um, I have found it difficult to find an associate to come and work with me. And I know in general, there's like this idea that people want to follow a strong leader. If they're picking between a male and a female clinic owner, a lot of them would go with a male. The men would go with the male, and some of the women would as well. Um, one of I've had two associates, and one of them, he definitely thought I was emotional and would make comments that, oh, she can't make decisions because I would try to consider all of the sides. Um, I did have an incident with an employee of 9 years that scared me. I needed to have a lawyer. She made allegations. I don't know if she would have done that with a man. She definitely tried to intimidate me. I don't think it was because I was black, but it could have been. She was Asian. I thought that kind of brought us together, but in the end, she definitely turned on me, and I couldn't say for sure what it was all about. She did name call me after the fact that she was angry, but we were close and worked well together for 9 years before that.
Okay, so I'm gonna dive into that a little bit more. But speaking on that stereotype, that kind of just leads us into our portion of the interview where we're gonna dive more into stereotypes, but we're gonna play a little bit of a game first. So I'm gonna explain this game to you. So as you can see, we have a basket right here with our little mini hoop, and we are gonna, in my hand here, there's gonna be a container of some stereotypes that you would have encountered, or that you might have been called, or something that you would have experienced within either your life or your career. And I'm just gonna shake them up, and then I'm gonna get you to pick one of these papers out. You're going to read it to yourself. You don't gotta read it out loud yet. You're gonna read it to yourself, and then you're gonna shoot it, and then we're gonna talk about it. Okay. So And you can move your mic out of the way if you need.
You don't want me to read it out loud though?
You're gonna say it after you pick it up. After you shoot it, we're gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna read it out loud.
Okay. Woo,
Oh, there we
almost.
go. Almost. Okay. Let's see what we got here.
Should go in the garbage.
Okay, so the stereotype, typical, typical angry Black female.
Yes, I have encountered.
So, tell me about when you've encountered this stereotype, and how do you navigate it?
That.
And sorry, so I'll just give a preface. So, from my own experience, so in my own experience, at the job that I worked previously, like I said, I was actually the only Black person in that branch. There was one other Black person in another branch in Edmonton. So in the whole branch, in all of Edmonton, you just had the two Black people there, and my personality is when I'm always smiling, I'm friendly, I'm a high energy type of person, and it went well. But whenever like a situation would come up where I wasn't like that, then I would always get perceived, if I wasn't always happy and I wasn't always smiling, or if something bothered me and I brought it up, then it becomes that I'm an angry Black man, I'm confrontational, and I'm trying to cause problems. But when it was anybody else, it was just regular, it was just normal, right? And what actually happened was, in my previous job, I had a situation where I was having trouble with some attendance, right? I had some issues with my car, and I mentioned it to my boss. I told him in advance, and I still got called into the office, and it became an issue. He said that I should have let him know way in advance. I let him know 30 minutes in advance. He said I should have let him know an hour in advance. And I was telling him that if I were to let you know an hour in advance, no matter where I am in the city, I can probably make it to work. And he said that the reason why I'm in the situation is because of my attitude. And I was like, what attitude? You can't say that, because I'm always a very positive person. I don't have an attitude. You don't see me out on the floor, and then you're just throwing that accusation on me. And in that moment, I lost my cool, and I then did actually maybe play into the stereotype a little bit. so because of the assassination of my character. But normally I wouldn't be like that. But as soon as I did that, the job was done. It was done for me. Going forward, in the next week, I was fired. And just from that interaction, as soon as it became one where maybe I would have fed into that stereotype for that moment, when normally I'm not like that, the minute that I did that, it was done. So, I guess for you, what was your experience like?
Not quite the same. I haven't had a lot of jobs where someone was over me, and maybe being self-employed is a choice I made so that I didn't get into that situation. But I know on parent council with my son's school, probably in all areas that I've been in, if I speak about something seriously, I'm taken as angry, or the person gets more worked up or feels more attacked. I'm more intimidating. I've been told I gesticulate my hands too much. I get worked up. I talk too loud. And I think of myself as a very laid back, it takes a lot to get me going kind of person. There isn't a lot of grace for me. Too big of a personality, too tall, too big. you're intimidating, chill out. Even when I'm defending other people for them, it's too much. And uh, that kind of hurts that I can't be myself or I don't get to speak if I'm angry. I need to really think before I talk because people can't handle it.
See, that's to me that's very frustrating though, because sometimes what I feel a lot of times is when someone says a stereotype that I'm not displaying at that time, it makes me want to be that stereotype so that like I can just so that you can be right. Like, okay, well, if you think I'm angry, then maybe I need to be angry so that I can fit into that stereotype because I'm actually not angry right now. I'm talking to you very calm, but just because maybe I'm being a little bit more serious or I'm stating my point or how I feel about something, then you're taking it in that way,
Hmm.
right? So I feel like that's a very frustrating thing to deal with.
I'm a little different. I am more of a people pleaser. So as soon as I sense someone is being like that, I feel like I shut down. And so I would probably not finish my point, just decide that it's not worth saying or not worth sharing. I'm not going to share that part of myself with the person and I wall them off or step away. But note in my mind, that person's not safe. I wouldn't really get too close to that person because they can't take me the way that I am.
And so, is there ever a maybe like a second chance with that person, a way that you will navigate forward with that person?
In general, I think I do give a lot of second chances, but um, I think there's probably a part of me that never forgets how they were kind of untrustworthy that way, that I'm not safe to just let it all. I do think my circle of friends, I mean, I think this is with everyone as they get older, it gets smaller, but there's an advantage to it as well. I do think I've learned how to communicate in a calmer manner, um, not letting myself get flustered, not letting someone have the benefit of that power over me, not letting them see that I'm how irritated I am. I take pleasure in not letting people get my goat, or at least not letting them see it, and then I can vent to close friends that how enraged I was about
No,
that.
no, I that is something that I learned from that last experience at my job is the importance of emotional intelligence or like
Hmm.
yeah, being able to control your emotions and not because the minute that they now see me angry, the minute that I got angry in that moment, they already won. They won that situation, right? And I was
Mhm.
actually mad at myself after
Mhm.
because man, they got me out of my character of how I normally would be,
Mhm.
right? And so I think what you said there is a very important skill to have just in general in life, in your career, and in anything is to be able to have that emotional intelligence so that you don't so you can control your emotions. People don't need to anyone that is able to get a rise out of you essentially has control over you.
Mhm.
So being able to just control your emotions, and even though you feel a way about something, internalize it and then maybe deal with it in a better way,
Different way. Yeah.
a different manner. So in the chiropractor field, right? It's like I said, um, when I was younger, I didn't know many chiropractors in general, much as to be a black chiropractor. What is something that you wish more young people or young black people in general knew about the chiropractic field?
Um,
How do I get into it? Where do I go? How do I?
that stuff is pretty straightforward. There's about 2 years of prerequisites that you can do at university or college.
Huh?
There's a college in New Zealand that you can do all of your prerequisites in 1 year and get your degree in 5 years instead of 6 or 7 or 8. I took 8 years because I wanted to get my Bachelor of Science. Because at that time, I still had the mindset, well, if chiropractic didn't work out, at least I have my Bachelor of Science. I hadn't met Dr. Sherman yet. I didn't have that moment of, oh, I'm positive. Um, but one of the things that I wish I knew sooner that might have made a difference in the way or where I practiced was that you can be a chiropractor doing almost anything. You could join a team. One of my classmates became a chiropractor for the rugby team, the Blacks in Australia. She went from Athabasca to Australia. Um, and now she works in the Middle East. She's got a clinic in
Wow.
Bahrain. Uh, I wish I knew how broad that degree could be.
Mm.
Traveling with a team when you're first out of school would be so fun. And there's people who go with the Olympic athletes. And when the Olympics are in Canada, I've had a couple of colleagues who have been exclusive to different parts of the Canadian team.
See, that's something that we were talking about in the earlier. I was surprised that there were so many opportunities and so many like that chiropractic field was so broad. I didn't know that you could do
Mhm.
so many of those things.
Or you could join a company, a big company, maybe like Enbridge,
Mhm.
and go to Russia and be a chiropractor for one of their big sites and have a lucrative career travel, um, taking your degree to Europe. And
So there's a lot of flexibility, like
there's
especially
a
like,
lot of flexibility.
and how about like work-life balance too, like work-life
I think
balance.
the career is one of the best for work-life balance. For me, my clinic has always my first clinic was a block from home, so I would walk home for lunch, go have a nap, come back. You can make your schedule however you want it to be when you're self-employed. My last clinic, we lived downstairs. The clinic was on the main. Now the clinic that I have is on the main, and I live upstairs, so my commute is go down the stairs to work. And I don't feel like a workaholic. I have lots of time off. I get to travel 4 to 6 weeks a year, and you can work as hard as you want or make it as easy for yourself as you want. For women, having children, um, it's not easy. You have to try to find a locum to cover for you. You're off on maternity leave. For me, my maternity leave was only 6 weeks, but I only had to work 2 hours, and then I could be with my son for an hour, 2 hours, be with my son for an hour, 2 hours, and then I was done.
And that's in between. So in between you having a client and then you go back up to your side and then
Yeah.
okay,
A lot of docs will bring their kids to work
work.
with them. Most practices are sort of family style, so there's an area where the kids can.
Okay.
I had a nanny for my son the first couple of years so that I could work full time, but she came with me. They came with me to do things, and he was always nearby, especially because the clinic was in the same place that we lived.
Okay.
That's unusual, but
Makes it very convenient though.
was
It makes
very
it very, very
convenient for
convenient.
me.
Yeah, if you have to run home and get anything, you just run upstairs and
Mm-hmm.
and you're okay. So with that being said then, I know we also dived into we talked about it very briefly earlier. You mentioned that especially for female chiropractors, in leadership roles or having your own practice, right? It's hard to maybe find maybe male chiropractors, other chiropractors that want to work under you, maybe because of the stereotype or the assumption that female chiropractic clinic doesn't maybe have, it's not as financially stable as the male, um, run clinics. Is there truth to that? Is that just a myth? Like, what would be your take on that?
I do know women who have very successful clinics and multi-doc clinics, multiple docs under them, but most of the women I know do not have that type of a clinic. Um, it could be partially that women are a little more focused on home life balance, homework balance, and taking on a management role does add to the number of hours that you, or the amount of expectation on you in a week. Um, it seems like it shouldn't still be this way in this day and age, but looking at expected salaries, men versus women in chiropractic, men still make quite a bit more than women on average.
Even if we are the same, we have the same level of
Skill
schooling,
set.
same skill set,
Yeah.
and everything like that. There's still a difference there.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a significant difference? Is it a little bit different because you own your own practice as opposed to if you were working under someone else?
I think owning your own practice allows you to make more money. Um, I don't know what women are thinking in general. For me, although I'm ambitious, I am not so ambitious that I want to work that hard, or I don't want to take on some things that maybe would double my salary to where I was more with some of my male colleagues. Um, I'm also a single parent, so I feel like it's undervalued how much more one person can make if their partner is taking care of the children and taking care of the home and making sure there's a dinner on the table when you come home. If you have to do those kinds of things, you don't have as much energy and your time is limited. There was a time that I worked until 7, but after I didn't have a nanny anymore, well, I couldn't make my son wait until all hours to have dinner, and I didn't have a partner to put dinner on the table. So, thinking of some of my male colleagues, some of them, their partners are chiropractors, but they don't work as many hours as the husband. And some of them, the wives have different types of jobs so they can actually get home at a better hour, get the kids from school, get dinner ready. So there's still kind of a traditional
The circumstance is a little bit different
role.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the circumstance is a little bit different, so it allows them to be able to have a different kind of balance within their work and how many hours they can work and how long they can
Hmm.
work, right? Well, okay.
And
That,
even if they do work 4 days a week or have a better work-life balance, it isn't necessarily to the benefit of their families to spend more time with their children. They maybe have hobbies or they volunteer or have jobs within our governing body, the Chiropractic Association, that takes up that extra time. So whether it's in practice or doing those side things, it doesn't necessarily mean taking care of business.
that's fair. And so, in a day to day, as a chiropractor, as an owner of your clinic, can you take me into like briefly what it is like for a day to day process for you?
Well, I have a really great uh, office manager receptionist combo. He does both. Most clinics have maybe two separate people doing that kind of thing, or have at least two reception, one who's senior, who does a little bit more of the books. But my male office manager is very competent with books and he's personable. He does all the bookings. So he gets to work about a half an hour before I do, takes the messages, makes sure the charts are pulled for the day. And then when I get to work, I just start with the first patient and the first file. In my clinic, I see a patient every 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I used to, for 25 years, I was every 15 minutes. But during COVID, we had to make some changes to still pay the bills. So I'm moving a little bit faster than I once did.
So in like in a day, how many clients might you do you have like a cap or like that you kind of meet every day? Okay, my cap is 10 clients a day or 20 clients a day, or is it just kind of free flowing?
Before, no, it's my schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday is 10 till 5 with an hour lunch break in the middle. I saw someone every 10 minutes. I think that's 36 people a day. I rarely see 36 in a day. I haven't got up to capacity since COVID. Before COVID, when I was seeing 15 people a day, I was about 27, 28 people a day consistently. I was fully booked. Tuesday, Thursday, I go from 12 till 5. And in the morning, I do stuff for myself. I would get adjusted, go to yoga, go to the gym, have a massage, do my banking, do that kind of stuff in the morning. Um, I want to be up to fully booked, and we're trying to do some marketing to get the clinic busy again. But it seems like since COVID, a lot of people just have fallen off with their self care and haven't got back.
Okay. And so I guess question
So
on
in a week, this week, I think I saw 102 people in a week, but my capacity is more like 135.
okay. Is that kind of draining them because like I mean a little bit of interactions like personal interactions as well, and you're seeing like 100 and something people a day or a week or 20 something people a day or 50 something people a day.
I would say most of my male colleagues see 60 a day, 60 to 80 a day. I did have a female colleague who saw 400 a week and she worked 4 days a week, so she saw 100 a day for 4 days. Um, my style of practice is quite slow, conversational. I'm not rushing them. Um, my clinic, I have one treatment room for myself, and then I have massage going on, a few of the other rooms, and acupuncture. I used to have a naturopath. In a busy clinic, the chiropractor will have at least 2 rooms or open style where you've got maybe 4 beds with half walls in between. And so the patient would come and get themselves on the table and be ready for when the doctor comes. So there's a lot less time with me waiting for them to take off their shoes and their coat. And you, I start to work, and you would tell me while I'm working what's going on with you. My clinic isn't like that. It's quite laid back. They tell me how they're doing, chat for a minute or two, and then get to work. That helps to make me not feel drained. I feel like they've come to my house, we have a little visit, I give them an adjustment and send them away. I get paid. It's nice. For the
Probably more personable too for their client as well too, instead of just coming in, get your chiropractor and just get up.
That's how it feels for me, but I know getting treated at clinics where it is moving faster, I don't feel not personable. It's just not my style
Yeah.
to move that fast.
No. Okay. And so in those interactions that you have in a day, has there ever been an interaction? I think when we mentioned briefly earlier before our conversation, something that I was thinking about is I know in massages, for example, massage therapists, sometimes they encounter situations where it may sexual innuendo is used or a joke or remark. Is that similar for females in the chiropractic field, or have you ever experienced that? Even if it's once or twice, but have you ever experienced that? And then how do you kind of navigate that or deal with that?
It does happen occasionally. The more professional the chiropractor comes in, the less likely that is to happen. So, unfortunately for me, I'm quite casual in my style. So, it probably puts me a little bit more at risk, innuendo or inappropriate jokes. Um, Occasionally, I've been grabbed when I adjust someone, grab my leg, something like that, that I think if I was a man, you wouldn't have done that. But it's very rare. Our college is quite focused on that right now to teach us to have better boundaries. Sexual malpractice claims are on the rise. People are very traumatized and they misconstrue or are sensitive to certain forms of touch or certain language. And that's making it difficult. Definitely for male practitioners, they need to be on guard and be very careful. When I started in practice, a lot of chiropractors had their patients put on a gown. You take off your clothes except your underwear. You have a gown on open to the back. that made patients feel vulnerable. So I've never done that in my practice. The chiropractor that I started with, he would do that. And he definitely had some patients feel violated. He straightened my underwear, he undid my bra. Sometimes we have to do that kind of thing, but there's a way to communicate that ahead
Yeah.
of time and ask for permission, and then that minimizes the chance of getting in trouble.
Well, because could it ever be like? 'Cause I'm just thinking in my own thought process here. Like, well, if I come to the chiropractic clinic and I need to get realigned, but then maybe I have my clothing is preventing me from getting a proper alignment, proper adjustment. Is that a realistic thing, or is that not realistic?
Most people are so casual in their clothing these days that that's less likely, but men in a tight suit, in a tight button-up shirt, on a rare occasion, the man wants to take off his shirt so it doesn't get wrinkled on the table or it doesn't rip. Ladies, really, it doesn't happen very much anymore at all, but wearing a skirt that's too tight to do a move where I've got to put them on their side and move their leg. Most ladies have shorts on underneath and they tell me right away, hey, don't worry about me flashing you. I've got shorts on. Or people bring clothes with them to change in the bathroom before their adjustment.
Okay. Okay.
I don't
And
encourage people to take their clothes off. We can feel clothes are not so thick that you
so you
can't
can't
feel what you need to.
see
And if someone comes in with a shoulder, usually they know how to dress to be able to move.
so that you work on them
Yeah.
appropriately. Yeah. Okay. So okay, that's fair. That's good to know. I think just because like for myself, like I said, prior to meeting you, I didn't have any kind of background in the chiropractic industry. So I'm always curious about a couple of those things too as well. So that's good to know. And I think I'm sure I'm not the only one that's curious about those things. I'm sure some of the listeners will be curious about those things too, because I feel like I I don't know, maybe I'll speak for myself, but I feel like in the Black community that the chiropractor is like a it's like a maybe not a taboo, but it's like a thing that we're a little bit scared to go to, you know?
I
Um
think it's in all communities.
yeah,
People
maybe
are
maybe
scared of me.
yeah, they're scared. We're like, I don't know if
She's
like
going to
she's
break
gonna
me.
break me, and then I signed the waiver, so then I'm okay. So I think that's maybe a thing. So it's nice to come in here and kind of debunk some of those I guess stereotypes around that profession.
Hmm.
And
Most people feel good when they're leaving. They just
yeah,
didn't know that they were going to feel good.
see, and I heard some people also like sometimes right away they don't feel the um the effects right away, but maybe like the day or two after, they're like, oh
Hmm.
wow, I feel so much, my back feels so much more aligned, or my posture is different. I hear that a lot as
Hmm.
well too. So, kind of speaking on that, has there ever kind of the last question in this kind of segment? Has there ever been a scenario? I think we also mentioned a scenario where um, I guess with a patient, they come in and they maybe realize that, oh, you are a Black chiropractor, and they maybe feel the interaction is a little bit different, or they might feel that way. I think we mentioned, you were telling me in a previous experience that one of the clients that you would have had previously, a female, her husband, I think, came in and he maybe didn't know that you were Black, and his interaction might have been a little bit different.
Yeah, we didn't have an interaction.
I guess you didn't have
Yeah,
interaction.
he filled out his form, but when he saw me walk by in the hallway, he gave the clipboard back to the reception and said, I'm good.
And that's not a thing that happens often, and
No.
no. And I guess that doesn't really bother you. Just kind of, if that person is not if that person cannot be in the chiropractic clinic because you're a Black, then it's his loss.
That's what I tell myself. I mean, it hurts. That person's wife, I loved her and she was lovely, and it was quite shocking that she'd be married to someone who would have views like um another one was the wife of a not really long-time patient, but he he didn't tell his wife, and she came in and she only came once, and then she told him and their neighbors who were longtime patients. Oh, you didn't tell me. You should have told me. So I tell myself, yeah, I don't want to touch someone that doesn't want me to touch them.
Yeah.
But it does stick with me.
So how do
As a
you?
prevention for that, I
Mm,
think I mentioned my sign
mm,
at the front of the clinic is a picture of just a snapshot of my hands on my mom's back. My mom is white,
mm.
and I just want my hands to be seen there so that if someone did have a reservation around having a person of color touch them, that they wouldn't even come in
Yeah,
because the sign says they might have that experience.
yeah,
So I think that has probably helped to stop that.
yeah. From that interaction happen. Okay, and so okay, that's it's unfortunate you have to take that precaution, but I guess that's also in the world that we live in as well too, right? So kind of moving into a legacy and kind of the empowering segment of our interview. If you could talk to your 15-year-old self, right?
Mm.
15-year-old Carol, what would you tell her? What would you tell her?
Mm. Pay off your credit card every month. Do not let that credit card accumulate. Um, don't take life too seriously. Things that seem very heavy and bad, they all pass. Good times pass, bad times pass. Everything is so fleeting. Really enjoy the moment, and you made the right choice. You're making the right choice going into chiropractic. You're gonna enjoy it. It's a good life. I don't have any regrets around my career other than maybe having a better mental health. When my son was younger, I took everything so seriously. I had to be the perfect mom. Um, he would have rather a more laid back, mistake making,
Model of
the
perfection.
uptight.
Yeah, model of
Yeah.
perfection type of. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when did that kind of change for you? Because it's funny that you say that because now you just made me think about like my parents, and I guess what I had made me think about that now. But when I'm thinking about my parents, yes, I'm thinking like I have to always be straight and narrow because that's how they raised me, which makes me afraid to make mistakes around my parents. But then I would make mistakes around people that are maybe not the best people to make mistakes around, right? But
That's me.
see, like, and so that's kind of I guess the problem because your parents want you to want you to see them in a certain light. I would assume they
Hmm.
want you to always see them as, my dad is a good person, my mom is a great person, does this, she does this, but it's also I think important to know that everybody makes mistakes, and it's
Hmm.
kind of how you bounce back from your mistakes, or how you react to things that happen, instead of nothing ever happens. I'm always good. I never
Hmm.
make a mistake, because then it makes it very hard for your son, your daughter, to then kind of follow in those footsteps where
Hmm.
they can't make a mistake. Very tough place to be in.
I think my parents were on the model of perfectionism. They didn't make mistakes. My dad didn't apologize. Whatever he decided was right. Getting new information, he didn't change his mind. This is how it is. And I started out more that way with my son, but I think he knows now. I definitely own when I make mistakes. I tell him stories of mistakes that I made when I was his age. He's 20 now. I'm so proud of how he's navigating his emotional life, his romantic life, talking about hard things, and um, so he doesn't end up regretting being too
Yeah.
stiff and stuck on doing it the right way. You're gonna make mistakes.
No, I totally agree with that. That also reminds me of when I was playing football. Um, in my I guess my second stint, I had gone to university previously and had a basketball scholarship, and when I left university, I went to go play football. And I got a scholarship for football to go to in St. Mary's in Halifax. And when I got that scholarship, I was like, oh man, I already been to university. I've already done the partying. I've already done that stuff. So I'm just super focused on my school. I'm not gonna have fun with my teammates. I want to go to the league. That's all my focus is. So all these distractions, everything else outside of this, I'm not concerned about that. But then when I had my injury later on, because I was so rigid and so focused. I remember my teammates used to ask me like, "Hey, let's go hang out." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be studying film. I'm gonna be watching film. I don't have time for that." My roommates would ask me, "Hey, let's go to this party." What? I'm like, "No, I'm just focused on football and school, and that's it." But then when I got injured and I didn't go back to school there, all those memories with my I never got to build certain memories
Mm-hmm.
with my teammates, which is one thing I kind of regret because I was so uptight and so focused on trying to make it to the league and just trying to do that that I
Mm-hmm.
actually didn't enjoy the moment. I was just so focused on my future that I didn't enjoy the actual present moment that I was there. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I kind of regret. So um, that is a really great point that you made. I think that's a really, really great point that you
I
made.
rejoice when my son goes out with his friends and I
Yeah.
tell him, yeah, go and have fun. And I think he knows I really mean it. There's plenty of time to be serious. He's got a full time job and he works hard, but when his friends ask him to go out, I encourage him. You should go.
Yeah.
It's- There's no point in missing out and just looking back and thinking, well, now it's too late. I can't do these things. And he traveled to Amsterdam this summer, to England. I traveled when I was 20. I wasn't, when my parents weren't around, I was buck wild. I was trying
Yeah.
to make up for
For how strict
how strict they
how
were.
strict they were.
So
I do know, yeah.
I would have given myself gray hairs now if I had a daughter that
Yeah.
was like me. But I still want him to have
Fun.
fun,
Yeah.
enjoy life. Life's too short. I often have the thought to myself, well, if I died tomorrow, would I rather have done this today? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do that
Yeah. And
fun
make
thing. I know I'm serious enough on the 80-90% of the time.
you need to also not learn to not take yourself so serious all the time and actually
Yeah.
have some fun.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I love that and I agree with that. So speaking about that, what legacy would you like to leave for yourself, for your family, and I guess for your career?
Well, I wish my son wanted to be a chiropractor. That would be a wonderful legacy. Um, I know I've helped people. I've lessened their pain. I've inspired them over the years.
Kind of in the same way that the chiropractor that
Did
you
for
met
me.
did for you.
Yeah. And then when she retired from chiropractic, she started to do naturopathy. She was a naturopath. And then when she didn't do that anymore, she was a big game hunter. I mean, those things don't all necessarily seem to fit together, but I hope to protect my health and have enough energy and fitness in my old age that I can travel, still see some patients here and there part time to make a contribution to my community. But as for the word legacy, that word is kind of charged for me. My dad is very focused on leaving a legacy. It often annoys me. It's to the deficit of relationships or to his own health. So
Okay, so let's rephrase it then. Let's maybe say, how do you want to be remembered then?
remembered.
How would you like to be remembered in terms of as for yourself, your family, and for in your career?
Someone who competently and with a lot of gift and empathy and knowledge was able to help people and change their lives and make their lives for the better. Lately, I've been encouraging some of the young people that come to the clinic to come with me when the New Zealand College of Chiropractic comes to town. So they
And
could,
when is that?
Um, usually in October. I don't have the date right now,
Okay.
but they come twice a year and do a student night
Okay.
and talk about the mission work that they're doing, because they take students, like they'll take 50 students to India or 25 students to Fiji and adjust a bunch of people, and you see all these miracles of people who were blind that could see, and
Wow.
people who haven't walked able to walk, and
So
from
from every
adjustments.
really.
Yeah, it's really, the field is moving into a neurologic focus that, I mean, those miracles were always there, but it was very anecdotal. But now more research is being done and people are documenting this so that it can be brought to the rest of the community, rest of the world.
So would you say in the chiropractic field, because you were mentioning, right, in you had a lot of allergies to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and the chiropractor that you met, she took some of the samples of the things that you were allergic to, held them, and then aligned you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are there, I guess new developments in the field of chiropractor, I guess realizing that a lot of maybe ailments that we have, like maybe a form of being crippled or like you said, eyesight, can come back from an alignment? Like, is that something that's being
Yeah,
discovered now?
that college in New Zealand is doing a lot of research on that kind of thing. They don't say, oh, we can cure MS, but by aligning the spine and through adjustments that send messages to your brain that then change neurotransmitters in your brain, your health is improved and your body knows what to do and it can heal itself.
Oh, that is very
The
cool.
first chiropractor, his historical story is he adjusted the janitor in his building who was deaf and restored his hearing.
Really?
So
Wow.
when I went into chiropractic, those were the kinds of miracles that I knew could happen, and definitely have had things like that in my clinic. Our college doesn't really encourage us to talk about that kind of thing. It sounds sensational, and there's always a tension between the medical field and chiropractic, that we would then be practicing medicine without a license, or say working outside of our scope. But as things get documented properly, then I think we're going to be able to talk about those things without fear of being challenged or litigated, because the research is there that shows that it can happen.
I actually did
There's
not know
the
that.
college, that New Zealand college, I think it was no, it was Life College in California, went to India to a hospital for people who were victims of strokes, and they did a research study where they measured the strength of the strong leg and measured the strength of the affected leg, gave one adjustment to the upper cervical spine, and then remeasured, and the affected limb strength increased by up to 43% with one adjustment. So it's giving neural input to the brain, encouraging synapses to communicate again. So when I heard that study, it was just mind blowing.
So yeah, that's a really cool study. I did not
And
know
it's
that.
not adjusting, there's a pinched nerve, and you've
Yeah.
taken a bone, because we used to say the bone is out of place, it's putting pressure on a nerve, it's like stepping on a hose. We adjust the bone, and then the nerve flow is better, like the garden hose. This is more, there's a reflex that sends a cascade, a signal back to your brain that does things, decreases cortisol. There's a whole bunch of
So is that like so okay, that one adjustment that they make where the person can now put their weaker leg,
more
it's increased
strong,
by
up to
40% up to
43%.
43%. Is that something that, like, if you don't get realigned maybe every week
We
or every,
don't know yet
it's
how
gonna
many
regress?
adjustments you need,
Yeah.
how much time in between. Um, that was just a snapshot,
Of the potential of
yeah,
what,
of
yeah,
the
what it can
potential.
show.
So we
Okay.
need more research.
Okay. Okay.
How many adjustments will make it stay? How, if it's 43 and 1, can 5 be 60%? Or do they need 3 times a day, or can they come in twice a week? There's so many variables. Um, It's just exciting.
I, you know what? Honestly, you have made me more interested in the field of chiropractic. I guess is that
Chiropractic.
chiropractic, the chiropractic field. I'm now more interested in it. I didn't actually. I
It's
didn't know
really
those things.
interesting. Dr. Heidi Havik, Haavik, she is sort of, she's not the president of that college, but she's head of that research department. And she's maybe from Sweden, but lives in New Zealand. And she's got 1,000 research projects going on. Changes in vision, changes in blood pressure.
Did not know that. Okay, that's something I'm
She's got
gonna
a channel on
get into.
YouTube with lots of mind-blowing things talking about decreasing the rate of seniors dying from falls because of getting adjusted.
Adjusted.
They know better where their body is in space and
How to land and
how to
or be,
land
or
or
be able to
not
take
trip.
or not or be able to take a fall
Yeah.
better, right? Okay, that's a yeah. I'm definitely gonna look into that a little bit more now. Who knows? Maybe I'm gonna come be a chiropractor.
You'd
Come
make
work
a
in your
great
clinic.
chiropractor.
See, is it? I guess my last question on that before I give you our final two questions here. Is does it does strength come into play a lot? Because you're putting pressure on the person's body to kind of
I do think it helps to be more strong. If someone your size saw someone like me,
Mhm.
if I wasn't strong, then I wouldn't be able to adjust you. But
Mm.
there are lots of small male and female chiropractors that um, they work around their lack of mass.
Yeah.
If you think of the formula F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, if they have less mass, they have to be a faster adjuster
Okay.
and they can still move the bones. And there's also tools that we can use, manual impulse type tools that uh, a lot of docs are doing that instead of by hand. They can really control the angle and the force by using a tool. I believe in the hands are so healing with the touch that that's mostly what I use. But as my hands get older, I think I'm 29 years in practice this year. My thumbs have some arthritis in them, so I got a new impulse gun that I use
Sure.
for some things.
Okay. Okay. That is good to know. Good to know. And so I guess kind of gearing down here now, kind of encompassing all of the things that you've said, right? You would have experienced that experience that you had when you were 2 years old. You know, have gone through school as an athlete, playing many different sports, getting inspired by sorry, what is her name?
Dr. Carol E. Bates and Co.
Dr. Carol Lee Bates. So getting inspired by Dr. Carol Lee Bates, and then being able to have that experience in university, which is a crazy experience. Um, but still being able to play your sport as well. What does being more than an athlete, more than an entertainer mean to you? From my perspective and my standpoint, um, being more than an athlete and more than an entertainer is something that is essential. Just because I don't think that you can be just an athlete or just an entertainer and succeed. I think you have to. There has to be. When I was an athlete, I couldn't just be an athlete. I was also a student. I was also um, a brother. I was also somebody that was involved in trying to have my own business and build my own brand. Just because sports is going to end at some point, right? If even in basketball, I love basketball. So in basketball, there's only like maybe 300 players that are in the NBA at a time. 300 to maybe 400 players are in the NBA at a time, and there's new players coming every year, taking their jobs. So that's 400 people out of millions and billions of people in the world, right? And so I think it is very imperative that you are more than an athlete and more than an entertainer, because in life, I think that those things are still very temporary. You still need, even the entertainers, they still need to do other ventures, business ventures. The basketball players, they still have other business ventures.
Mhm.
So that's just my perspective. But for you, what is your take on that? Or what does
I
that mean to
think
you?
part of the reason that life is worth living is partly to be of service. So, more than an athlete, more than an entertainer, if you can find a way to help others and get paid for it at the same time, it's great. Um, it just makes life more fulfilling. At the end of the day, if I only did sports, that feels like I would be very focused on
So,
myself. Um, I do love training. I love the way I feel when I use my body, but those chemicals do not last as long as me remembering, oh, that baby that didn't sleep more than 2 hours for its first 8 months, didn't sleep more than 2 hours at a time. And the mom that came in and she was at the end of her rope and felt like she hated her baby and was ashamed to tell me that story. When I think of, with one adjustment, how he slept 4 hours leaving the clinic and started sleeping 6 hours within the week, and that I helped that mom to love her baby and not have that child grow up without being bonded to his mom. Nothing compares to that kind of thing. And
yeah, exactly. I know. I love that. Being able to make a difference in people's lives
mm-hmm,
and also get paid is also a big is also a nice
mm-hmm,
benefit to that.
totally.
And so the very last thing that we want to leave the people with is, what is one, I guess, message that you would have for people out there? It could be about the chiropractic industry, just something you want to chiropractic industry that you want to debunk. It could be just a life lesson that you've learned. It could just be anything. What would you want to leave our viewers?
One of the main complaints or uh, misconceptions that patients who have questions have brought in to me has been, once I see a chiropractor, I hear I'll always have to see the chiropractor. And it's not true. It's just most people, when they come to the chiropractor, the thing that they're complaining of is caused by something that they're still doing. So I have a sore back because I sit at work. Well, you're not going to not sit at work anymore. Or I use the computer. Well, you're still going to be using the computer. So the chiropractor helps them to feel better, but can't cure them because they still have to use the computer. And so the patient that enjoyed their experience and got relief does keep coming to the chiropractor, but it's because they feel good, not because the chiropractor got them hooked or now they're addicted to getting adjusted. Um, you want to be adjusted again. You want to feel like that again. It doesn't last because we go back to our same daily activities, but I think everybody should get checked and give it a try, and it's very safe compared to things like even taking an Advil. It's safer than that. And people do those kinds of things
Things like
every
every day, pop
day,
those every day.
but
Yeah,
they're afraid of the chiropractor.
yeah.
And ask your friends that see a chiropractor if they recommend their chiropractor. Find a chiropractor that way. Look at reviews and see
Or you could come to Dr. Ross.
who.
So, you know. So, no. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ross, for coming on and giving us your time.
Oh, you're so welcome, Akille.
And
Thank you for
it was,
asking me.
yeah, no, it was a pleasure. I actually learned a lot about the chiropractic field, which I actually did not know. So that's really cool. Like I said, you do got me interested now. So I might go and explore a little bit more. And it was also very cool to hear your story and to hear some of the things that you would have had to navigate, but how you were able to navigate them and still become the person that you are today. And I think that you're going to have, the goal is to have the same impact that Dr. Bates,
Carolee Bates and Co.
Carolee Bates and Co. had on you, right? For somebody else who's watching, who's listening, whether it be a young black male, young black female, or a young person or an older person who wants to get into that field. And now they see some of the things that they would have to maybe encounter, some of the stereotypes that they might face, but how they can also navigate them and how they have an example of a successful person in that field. So thank you so much for your time.
Can I just say one more thing?
Go ahead.
The schooling is expensive,
Yes.
but
Mm-hmm.
there are grants
Okay.
and student loans.
Yep.
And one more shout out to the New Zealand College of Chiropractic. The New Zealand dollar is not as strong as the Canadian dollar. So it's like the States and Canada. So when a Canadian student goes to New Zealand, not only can you get your doctorate in 5 years instead of 6 to 8, but it doesn't cost as much. It's like 75 cents on the dollar, and you get to live in a tropical place and learn to surf, be in that school that is cutting edge on research. And
Dr. Carol just gave you guys free game. Free game. That's a lot of free. That's free game right there. So I would take it. I would take it. You get to be in a tropical place. It's a lot cheaper. It is a very rewarding career, and there's a lot more opportunities than what you see or what you think.